Remember when we bought that broken fun-size Space Invaders arcade game and brought it back to life after solving the mystery of why is smoke pouring out of the circuit board like it's a haunted fondue pot? Yeah, that was us. Congratulations, we're heroes. Now let's take off the control panel because we've entered a new chapter of this emotional roller coaster. The part where we try to make the controls work like they aren't 45 years old and suffering from joystick-based PTSD. So what's wrong? Oh, just everything. The buttons look like they were salvaged from a clearance bin in 1987 and have seen some things. The joystick, and I say this with love, it looks like it stared directly into the sun and lost. Half of its face is just gone. You try to move your ship left and the machine says, no, you move right and you can't go back, that's it. You've committed, you live there now, congratulations. Your spaceship has been redistricted. We examined the old switches with the same energy as a jury foreman in a courtroom drama. Disappointed, but thorough. Fortunately, we already have new replacement switches because we plan ahead and also have a box labeled Old Control Panel Junk. The buttons? Well, they're not totally beyond hope. We'll soak them in deoxit, the magical sauce that makes rusty circuits feel young again. Like a spa day. Our new joystick switches were a surprise bonus when we bought the machine from Gary, who, let's remember, sold us an arcade game by abandoning it in his garage so he could party in Galveston, and trusting us to leave the cash under a heavy object. So this part of the restoration feels especially thrilling. I'm inspecting the original two-way joystick, which ironically only goes one way right now. That's like buying a fork and discovering it's just a single judgmental prong. One switch is absolutely obliterated. The other is like, I'm fine, but in that way that isn't convincing. Now, to swap in the aforementioned new joystick stick, and folks, I've never disassembled a two-way joystick before, but how hard could it be? Oh, it's very hard. It's insultingly hard. It's 1990s IRS tax form hard. And yes, that's what she said. There's 4 screws holding this unholy contraption together, and the last one is dug in. It's time to break out the Vampliers! A vampire and plier hybrid from heaven. It's a real tool, not a metal band from Phoenix. They're like regular pliers, except they took biting lessons in college. These things bite down, and they do not let go. And it works, because of course it does. We are now officially one step closer to a joystick that turns left. The dream lives on, bro. We finally free the metal bar that holds the joystick in place. This thing exists solely to ensure your ship can only go left or right, like it's enforcing a very strict political agenda. Now this bar keeps a death grip on the joystick using something called an E-clip. And if you squint at it, sure, maybe it looks like the letter E. But to me, it's clearly a C. I said it. I meant it. I will die on this hill, and apparently the arcade industry will bury me there because they disagree. Anyway. Next up, we're swapping out the old busted joystick with the new hotness. And installing it seems easy, like infomercial easy, but trying to get it back into the metal bar and reattach that tiny rage-filled E-clip, that's a chore. That's like trying to clip a feral squirrel to a pogo stick, which I do not recommend. And just when you think you're free, now you have to reassemble the 4-screw death trap, the same contraption that previously required Vampliers and an off-camera wooden stake. Putting it back together is like solving a Rubik's Cube in the dark while someone reads you discouraging Yelp reviews. At least I'm out on the patio while all this is happening, where I can mutter and curse freely like an old-timey blacksmith. Thankfully, my neighbors Sam and Ellen live right behind me, and they never complain. Not even when I screamed, "Who invented this joystick and where do they live?" at 2:30 in the afternoon. They're cool, they're chill, they're probably just used to it by now. Okay, somehow I've managed to get the weird little square metal cage back into place, and now, dear friends, it is time for our final boss, the 4 screws, the same 4 screws. You would think that after everything I've been through with this cursed control panel, after all the contortions, the E-clip existential crisis, the emotional damage, that I'd be faster at this part. But no, I'm in fact slower than I was at the beginning. That's right, I'm regressing. I have D-leveled like an NPC in a 2010 video game. And even though I'm speeding up the footage by 300% to make myself look marginally competent, I still appear to be doing it with the grace of someone trying to assemble IKEA furniture while wearing oven mitts. At this point, I'm seriously considering giving up entirely and doing something relaxing, like filling every crack in my backyard retaining wall with pre-mixed concrete using nothing but my bare fists and the power of spite. Because somehow, that sounds easier than putting this joystick back together. And wouldn't you know it, I've made a mistake, a classic textbook hold my dignity mistake. The joystick is now leaning like it's trying to hail a cab in 1982, so I flip the control panel over because that's what we do now. We flip things over when life goes wrong, and I realize something horrifying. The joystick is supposed to go between the two little metal thingies that do the actual clicking. Yes, that's the technical term. Metal thingies, because no one on Earth knows what they're really called, and if they say they do, they're lying, and they probably also correct people about Star Wars continuity. Now, rather than dismantling the entire control panel like a Victorian clockmaker with a grudge, I decide I'll just unscrew the two mysterious clicky prongs and gently wedge them between the joystick shaft where they were meant to be all along like a lost royal child in a Disney movie. But of course, this means I also have to remove one of the switches, not later when I had planned to do it calmly with a cup of tea and crumpets. No, now while I'm filled with spite and leftover lunch anger. Fortunately, the two screws holding the switch in place decide to cooperate. They're like, yes, whatever you say, sir, anything to avoid your wrath. So now I'm free from undoing the dreaded 4-screw death cage, trademark space-time junction 2025. And for the first time today, I feel something. I feel alive. And not like an arcade repair zombie shuffling around in circles, searching for my logic probe. No, I am awake. I have purpose. I am fixing this joystick, and no one, not even the ghost of Space Invaders past, can stop me now. As you can see, we've achieved greatness. The joystick is standing tall and proud, like a little patriotic soldier who just passed basic training and doesn't yet know what war is. Mission complete! Except? No, it's not! Because we still need to replace the old crusty switches with our new fresh out of the bag switches. And wouldn't you know it, someone, some genius, some absolute mad lad in the Carter administration decided to solder the wires directly to the switches, like a little electrical hostage situation. Now, yes, that does mean the wires won't just fall off in the middle of a spirited game, but it also means I now have to fire up my soldering iron like I'm about to brand cattle. And maybe, just maybe, I'll bring out my solder vacuum, which is a real thing I own. So now, here I am, armed with 600-degree heat, a steady hand, and a prayer that this doesn't devolve into one of those repair sessions where you start bargaining with the machine like it's a sentient being. Now, don't get me wrong, I love soldering. I love restoring things. It makes me feel like a wizard returning order to the realm. But these old Space Invaders harnesses used quick disconnects. And I say quick with the same sarcastic tone you'd use when saying, "Oh yeah, that restaurant's fast casual." Because once you slide one of those connectors on, it never wants to come off. It's like a feral kitten. It hates you. It resists love. And it will hiss menacingly when you try to touch it. But we push forward because this joystick deserves to be free, and because I have nothing else going on this afternoon. Crimping the quick disconnects is, in theory, a simple task. In practice, it's performance art. You only need to expose a little bit of wire, like just a whisper of copper. A polite peek, if you will, before you crimp it into the disconnect. And to do that, I use my trusty Radio Shack wire stripper, which is from the actual Radio Shack, back when that was a store and not just some weird memory we all share. Now, every time I use this thing, I'm wondering, am I taking off too much wire, or not enough? It's a fine line between functional connection and naked copper spaghetti. But hey, good news, I also own wire cutters. So now I've got this passive-aggressive showdown between the cutter and the stripper, like it's a reality show for tools, but only one gets the rose. Then there's the crimping tool itself. Yeah, the crimping tool has multiple notches, like little bitey sections, and each is supposedly designated for a different wire gauge, which sounds very official and very organized. And even though I know exactly what I should be doing, it always feels like a multiple-choice quiz written by monkeys. If you get it right, oh, it's magical. The crimp holds strong, the wire sings, the circuit completes. But if you get it wrong, you're just standing there inventing new cuss words like a medieval bard with a vendetta. Because this isn't the last wire you'll mess up today. No, this is just round one. This is my BitWrench! There are many like it, but this one is mine! My BitWrench is my best friend! It is my life! I must master it as I must master my life. Without me, my BitWrench is useless. Without my BitWrench, I am useless. I must turn my BitWrench true. I must righty-tighty and lefty-loosey. I must wrench the bit before the bit is wrenched. Before Atari I swear this creed. My BitWrench and myself are restorers of the arcade. We are the masters of our enemy. We are the saviors of the 80s. So be it until there are no bad buttons, but only good ones. Amen. Okay, putting aside any more Full Metal Jacket-inspired dialogue, we've installed our new buttons and made slight adjustments so they make good contact with their respective switch. They may be slightly shorter, but somehow the genius engineers of the 70s and 80s made these tweakable. Here's a great example where you can clearly see the button isn't causing the switch to fully engage, so you loosen up a screw so you can slide the switch just a bit closer to the button, and now when you're playing Space Invaders, you've at least got a fair chance of winning, but probably not. Mission Fix the Buttons is, as they say in Kazakhstan, a great success. Now we turn our attention to yet another thorn in our increasingly spiky side. The Marquee light. You know, the part of the machine that says, hey, I'm a real game. I'm not just furniture. Our first suspect is the starter. It's this tiny little cylinder that looks like a battery, or like if a Duracell and a Tic Tac had a kid and then abandoned it inside an arcade cabinet. It allegedly works thanks to witchcraft. It's supposed to give the light a little jolt like, hey, wake up! People want to play a game, bro! I have more of these starters in my parts drawer than I have socks that match. So I grab one, pop it in, like I know what I'm doing, and guess what? Nothing happens. Story of my life. And yet I try every single time because maybe this starter believes in me. Now usually this is where I'd replace the whole fluorescent bulb, but I don't want this machine to double as an easy bake oven, so we're going full LED, baby. Yes, I'm abandoning the warm, nostalgic hum of 1980s radiation tubes for the clinically bright precision of a Home Depot LED, because I like my nostalgia with a side of energy efficiency. Before you know it, I've wired this puppy in, and now it is blinding. It's like the words Space Invaders have ascended to heaven. It glows with the kind of intensity that makes you feel like you're the one being invaded. And honestly, that's the kind of encouragement I need in my life. Well, thank you again for tuning in to part 2. Please leave a like if you enjoyed the video, and if you want to keep up with future updates, pretty please clickety-click the subscribe button. Hey, thanks for watching. Woot!